Hello beautiful people, my name is Amanda Zitto. If you are new here, I make travel vlogs, how-tos, and general encouragement for you to get out and do the thing. In August to September of 2020, I made a 7,929 mile loop of the United States that I dubbed Flight of the Magpie, all on my Honda CB500X. If you have not watched that series already, there is 11 beautiful episodes up for your enjoyment. I'm pretty proud of that, so if you haven't watched it already, link above my head. Before I left on that trip, I made myself a budget so I would know how much to save for said trip. I did my best to estimate the cost of food, gas, accommodation, maintenance, and recreation. When I made that budget, it was well before any of us knew how much things were going to change during 2020. Spoiler alert though, I came in under budget. While I was in the planning phases of this trip, I anticipated spending $3,429. That included the rent and bills that I needed to pay while I was gone, and I always include bills and all that kind of stuff into the amount that I save for a trip because I know I'm not going to be making money during that period of time, so I still need to be able to pay all those things. While I was on the road, I tracked every single penny I spent in an app called Travel Spend, #NotSpawn, but I did end up starting to pay for that app to get some of the extra features. Anyway, point is that I have all of these beautiful things in a nice pie chart to share with you, and I didn't have to do any extra work because I tracked all of it in this app. The most helpful thing for me was being able to see what my daily average so far on the trip was, and then also what my total spend was so far on the trip. And right below total spend, it shows you how much you have left in your budget, and that is super helpful for me as a person who is not super money-minded. So in total, minus my rent and bills and things, because nobody cares about that, everybody is only here to find out how much money I spent to go across country in 24 days. I spent $2,640 with an average spend of about $73 a day. Even with rent and bills, I still came in under what I anticipated spending for the trip. So because I'm a nerd, we're also going to break down this into categories. You can see by the pie chart that the largest chunk is accommodation because I didn't expect to have to stay in so many hotels. If I had a different pie chart of just the things that I had anticipated spending my money on, the biggest chunks would be sightseeing and gas and food, which I guess is kind of a good thing because all of that money that I had anticipated spending on sightseeing kind of ended up padding the budget for accommodation since I didn't get to do like 3/4 of the sightseeing things I had planned to do because they were closed, which is why I still ended up under budget, even with all of the unexpected hotel rooms. In total for accommodation, $948.41. In total of 24 days on the road, I stayed in 10 hotels. I paid for one KOA campsite in Rapid City. I then stayed with friends and family for 10 nights of the trip and camped for free 3 times. At the beginning part of the trip, when my brother and I were traveling together, we were splitting the cost of the hotel rooms, but we made a deal that I would pay for the hotel and then my brother would pay for a dinner that night. Obviously, you could cut this number down a ton. Just going further off the beaten path to find free camping, even paying for campsites still would have made this number smaller. That being said, the summer of 2020 is not what I would have called a normal time traveling the United States, and I had a hell of a time finding campgrounds, even paid campgrounds where you didn't have to reserve a few days in advance, and I had no idea where I was going to be in 2 days' time, so it just didn't work out for me. I did prove in West Virginia that you can still find free camping even when the world is crazy if you get far enough off the beaten path. However, since miles was more of a priority for this trip, I ended up hugging the interstates a lot more than I normally do. Then again, there are definitely people who prefer staying in a hotel every night when they're traveling, so maybe they're looking at my number and just laughing at me. But that's part of the point. Everybody has a different preferred mode of travel, so everybody's number and everybody's budget is going to look different than mine, different than yours. You know, this is more of a curiosity thing. I watch other people's budgets just to be like, wow, you spent on that, interesting. Moving on to the fees and charges category, which kind of lumps in most of the maintenance things for the bikes for me, $680.44. So this includes my replacement helmet, the replacement chain and sprockets that had to be overnighted to Rapid City, and the new tire and labor to install that tire in Motor Richmond, Virginia. I changed the oil and everything in the bike before and after I got back from the trip, so I didn't include that cost in this number. I also had a tiny can of chain lube that went along with me, so I didn't have to buy that along the trip either, so that is also not in that number. This might have been like the easiest trip that I have ever gone on. I had zero mechanical issues with the Honda. A ton of people are like, give a review of how your bike did on the trip. There's not really anything to say. She did great. Next up, transportation, aka fuel for the bike. $412.05. Not too shabby for 7,929 miles. And 24 days on the road. I think that breaks down to something like 5 cents a mile, definitely under the $500 that I budgeted for gas for this trip. But then again, I did have to cut off a little bit of the mileage on the East Coast that I thought that I was going to do. I also guess that one of the good things that happened this summer is that gas prices were pretty darn low compared to what they were supposed to be when I was doing my research. So that was cool. Shopping, $322.39. This included things like SD cards and pins. I bought 6 new SD cards along the route as I filled up SD cards. The Frog Togs are also in this category. Next up, restaurants at $314.51. Definitely higher than I thought this was going to be, but I did get some awesome crab legs at a restaurant in Kill Devil Hills to celebrate hitting the Atlantic Ocean. You know, we had a fancier than necessary lunch in Deadwood, and also I'm still thinking about the steak that I had at Colton's in Arkansas, so arguably worth it. The restaurant's number is separate from the groceries number, so groceries coming in at $51.73. That number does not include the food that I left with. So I did take a couple of bags of dehydrated food, some rice, a bunch of oatmeal, tea, and a bunch of the staples that I would use to make other food. I normally don't include that kind of food in the budget for a whole trip because that's stuff that I replenish when I get back from a trip so that I have it and it's ready for the next trip. Also, the Go Macro bars that a lovely subscriber bought me off my Amazon wishlist before the trip that fueled me all the way to the East Coast, so thank you. Last but not least, sightseeing at $47 even. This one I can literally list for you. Entrance to the Museum of the Rockies, parking at Deadwood, and entrance to the Indiana Dunes State Park. One of my subscribers also bought me the America the Beautiful Pass for the trip, so I didn't have to pay to enter any of the national parks that I got to visit on this trip. And now is the point in the video where I re-emphasize that everybody's numbers are going to look different. Actually, my own numbers for the budget for every trip that I do look drastically different depending on how much money I have to do the trip, like what happened during the trip. Like, for instance, you know, this list doesn't include like the $800 I had to pay out of pocket to fix the clutch on the Cabra trip. That was massive. But we also spent a whole lot less money on accommodation on that trip. You know, things fluctuate. Yes, you can absolutely do this kind of trip way cheaper than I did. Yes, you can sacrifice all kinds of other things to also make it cheaper. This is not a video about how to make it cheaper. This is just a video about me sharing the numbers of the trip and how it ended up coming out. Cool. I will also link down in the description a video from my friends over at Two Wheels Big Life about how they're budgeting for their lifestyle on the road. And Chris is an accountant, so I trust her. All right, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed whatever this was. Hit the like and subscribe button if you did, and if you would like to support videos like these on the channel for as little as $1 a month, you can get early access to videos like these ad-free before the rest of the world sees them over on my Patreon. If you cannot do that right now, that is absolutely okay. I also have t-shirts, stickers, prints, all the good things with my motorcycle art on them in my Redbubble shop. Links down in the description. And if you would like to get something hand-packaged and sent to you by me, that is what my Etsy shop is for. Links to that are also down in the description. If you cannot support me monetarily right now, that is absolutely okay. I appreciate you guys just for being here every single week and watching these videos. And the question for my end screen crew: what is the most expensive hotel you have ever stayed in, willingly or not? Or maybe tell me the most expensive meal you've treated yourself to, because I'm all about hearing about that good food. Okay, you guys, I'll see you later. My goal is not to compare my numbers to your numbers, although I guarantee you there will be people down in the comments telling me how they've done a similar trip for like half of what I spent. If the rest of you would like to get more information about how I go about budgeting for all of my trips, I have a whole video about that.